Hello, welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Maryellen, the one and only. Chapter 3, Extraordinary, not extraordinary. In a little while, Joan stood up and called out, "Okay, kids, time to go home." Normally, everyone would beg to stay longer at the beach, but today, Maryellen, Davy, Carolyn ran up to the umbrella and toweled off and put their shoes on, and Beverly and the little boys picked up their sand pails and shovel and got ready to walk home without a murmur. Today, Betty and Florence were coming. Maryellen rushed to help Joan shake the sand off her beach towel and fold it neatly. Joan said nothing, but she raised her eyebrows at Maryellen's unusual eagerness to be neat. Then Joan tucked her towel and book under her arm, put Mikey in his stroller, and took Tom by the hand. Carolyn, Maryellen, and Beverly hoisted the beach umbrella onto their shoulders and carried it all in a row, with Maryellen in the middle. Davy brought up the rear, herding sluggish scooter homeward. Maryellen knew just about everyone who lived in the houses on the street. She waved at the neighbors who were out in their yards, washing the car, mowing the lawn, or sitting and sipping lemonade. She always liked how safe and familiar her neighborhood was, and how honey the pretty little matching houses were, all lined up in rows, facing the other one chivalry across the street. Each house had a driveway, a carpet, a small lawn, and a palm tree. But suddenly today, the sameness fell flat. Today it occurred to Maryellen that the neighborhood might look a little dull to Betty and Florence. They lived in New York City, for heaven's sake. Maryellen had never been to New York, but she knew that it was an exciting, bustling city full of action and variety. And she could tell that Mom wanted to impress Betty and Florence. How could their home be impressive? It was just like all the other houses on the street. "You would hardly tell these houses apart," Maryellen said aloud. "We should do something to make our house stand out." "Like what?" asked Carolyn. "I don't know yet," said Maryellen, "but I'll think of something." As they walked up the driveway, Maryellen thought about hard she could do to make their house look extraordinary instead of extraordinary. Davy waved goodbye and went to next door to his house. Mom went up them at the kitchen door, standing in the shade of the carport. She was wearing a dress and a hat and a high-heeled sandal, and the car keys jingled in her hand. "I'm on my way to pick up Betty and Florence," Mom said. "Well, Mom, you look beautiful," said Maryellen. You look like a mother on TV." That was Maryellen's highest compliment. I worried her a little bit that most of the time Mom distinctly did not look like one of the mothers on TV who vacuumed their spotless houses wearing high heels and pearls and always had a chocolate cake on hand. Instead, Mrs. Larkin usually wore sneakers, pedal pushers, and one of the old shirts, Dad's old shirts. But today Maryellen saw that Mom fingernails and toenails had fire engine red polish on them. They were as red and shiny and eye-popping as Mom's red lipstick. Now Maryellen was absolutely positive. Mom really wanted to impress Betty and Florence. Oh, she ached to help Mom do just that. That's when Maryellen had a great idea about how to snazz up their house. She thought of a surefire way that she could make their house stand out from every other house on the street. She couldn't wait to make that happen. Meanwhile, Mrs. Larkin was saying, "Thank you, darling. Everything is spick and span and perfect for Betty and Florence. And I wanted to stay that way. So now, everyone, please hose off your feet before you go outside. I don't want you tracking sand all over my clean kitchen floor." "Okay, Mom," said everybody. "What smells so good?" asked Carolyn. Oh, I'm glad you reminded me," said Mom. "There are brownies in the oven. Take them out when the timer dings, okay? But don't eat any." "Okay, Mom," said everyone again. Maryellen looked so excited about her idea that she wasn't really paying attention. Well, all right, I better go, said Mrs. Larkin. As she drove away in the car, she waved and called out the window, "Be good." "Okay, Mom," said everybody one more time. Hooray, thought Maryellen, happy and excited. Mom's finally gone. Now I can work on my surprise. The house was right next to the kitchen door. Tom, who always liked to pretend that he was a fireman, held the hose while Joan washed the sand off Mikey's feet. Then Tom escorted Scooter, who sat agreeably, and let him do it. Maryellen hurried and changed out of her bathing suit, went to the carport, and began rummaging around on Dad's workbench for red paint and a paintbrush. She was going to paint the front door of their house red, really red. Bright, shiny, eye-catching, fingernail polished, or lipsticky red. No one else in the neighborhood had a front red door. Betty and Florence would be so impressed, they'd say to Mom, "My goodness, Kay, your house really stands out from the rest. It's extraordinary. It's like the one with the bright red door." And Mom would proudly smile and say, "Maryellen painted our door red. It was her idea. She always has great ideas." And then, when Betty and Florence talked to Maryellen for the first time, they wouldn't say what people usually said, which was, "You're Maryellen? Which one are you, the second, third, or fourth sister?" Instead, they would say, "Oh, you're Maryellen. You're the one with all the great ideas." Maryellen was so intent on imagining Mom's pride and Betty and Florence's admiration, and so focused on her search for paint that she jumped up when Beverly's squeaky voice said, "What are you doing?" Maryellen turned to Beverly, Tom, Mikey, and Scooter standing in a row behind her, watching her. Beverly was wearing her baseball cap crown. Except for Scooter, they were all eating orange popsicles, so their mouths were wreathed in orange stickiness. "What are you doing?" asked Beverly again. "Nothing," Maryellen answered. "Go find Carolyn. She left for her piano lesson," said Beverly. "She said to tell you to take the brownies out." "What about Joan?" asked Maryellen. "She's getting ready for Jerry," said Beverly. "She gave us popsicles and told us to come find you." Maryellen sighed. She could see she was stuck with Beverly, Tom, Mikey, and Scooter as an audience for her project, whether she liked it or not. "All right," she said briskly. "I'm going to paint the front door red, like Mom's fingernail polish. You can watch, but don't get in the way." Maryellen found a can of red paint and a paintbrush left over from when Dad had touched up Tom's fire truck. The paint was sort of lumpy and smelly, and the brush had dried so it was stiffened into a hard move. Maryellen knew that before starting her project she should clean the brush with turpentine, but she didn't have time to fuss. She had to finish her surprise before Mom and Betty and Florence came home. To make herself faster and taller, Maryellen put on her roller skates. She pictured herself gliding smoothly as she painted, like the waitresses on roller skates at a drive-up restaurant. "I want to paint too," said Beverly. She and Mikey trailed along behind Maryellen as she roller skated to the front door. Scooter, who had an unerring instinct about where he'd been most of the way, plunked himself down right behind Maryellen. "I want to paint too," echoed Tom, pedaling his fire engine along beside them. "Paint," said Mikey. "No," said Maryellen. "Why?" asked Beverly. "Because there's only one brush." "Can't I have a turn with it?" asked Beverly. "Me too?" asked Tom. "Paint," said Mikey. "No," said Maryellen shortly. "Why not?" asked Beverly. "Because it was my idea and I'm doing it," said Maryellen. She sounded crosser than she meant to. The truth was that she was cross at herself because only now that she looked at the front door did she realize that it might have been a good idea to wash the door first. The old white paint was pretty dirty, but there wasn't really time, and besides, once the front door was covered with a nice fresh coat of red paint, nobody would be able to see the dirt. So, Maryellen plunged ahead. "It's just a door. How hard can it be?" she thought to herself. She remembered seeing a TV commercial in which a lady painted her whole living room by herself. There was nothing to it. Maryellen pretended to be in that TV commercial. She held a can of paint in one hand, dipped the brush into it, and boldly swiped a stroke of red in the middle slat of the white front door. "Uh-oh," said Beverly. "Uh-oh what?" asked Maryellen, even though she had spotted a problem too. "It's all bumpy," said Beverly. "Oh, no one will see," said Maryellen airily, even though it was easy to see that she'd painted over dead bugs, and the bodies were now permanently attached to the door like raised polka dots. She was glad when Joan's boyfriend Jerry drove up in his convertible hot rod. He would be a great distance from her pesky audience. "Hi, Jerry," Maryellen, Beverly, and Tom called. Maryellen turned and waved to her paintbrush. "Hi, kids," said Jerry as he got out of the car and came up to the front walk. Maryellen thought he looked very handsome in his white tennis outfit. "What's with the paint, Ellie?" "Paint," said Mikey. "I'm painting our door red," Maryellen explained. "It's a surprise for Mom." "She'll be surprised, all right," said Jerry. "I guess I'd better knock on the door to let Joan know I'd be there for our date." Maryellen seized the opportunity, even though she knew she was risking Joan's wrath. "Speaking of dates, have you ever thought about setting a date? To marry Joan, I mean." To what?" Jerry sputtered. He looked surprised. Marry Joan. Ellen plowed on doggedly. "She's almost 18, you know. She'll be graduating from high school next June. And millions of girls get married right after they graduate." Jerry looked stunned, as if someone had bonked him on the head on the noggin. He was speechless. Maryellen pressed on. "You'd better ask her soon," she advised Jerry. "She's awfully pretty and popular." But Maryellen didn't have a chance to finish her sentence because then everything happened all at once. Beverly had finished her popsicle and was now dipping the stick into the paint can and painting her fingernails red. Suddenly she stopped and looked up. "Ellie," she said, "what's that smell?" Maryellen turned and saw smoke billowing out of the kitchen door just as Carolyn came running up to the driveway, waving her piano music and shouting, "Ellie, the brownies, they're burning." Joan rushed up to see what the fuss was about, flung open the front door. Maryellen gasped and began to wallow on her roller skates. As her feet flew out from under her, she landed bottom first in a red paint went all over the front step and all over Jerry's white tennis and shorts. "Hey!" exclaimed Jerry. "Oh no!" shrieked Joan. Tom, making siren noises and clanging the bell on his fire truck, pedaled to the kitchen door and turned on the hose. He squirted water through the kitchen screen door above, trying to put out the fire in the oven like a fireman. Beverly held up her hands, which were covered in red paint, and wailed. Mikey, unperturbed, picked up the paintbrush and began to paint red stripes on Scooter, who didn't seem to mind. And it was that exact moment that Mrs. Larkin's car pulled in the driveway, horn honking, honk honk, to announce its happy arrival. And that's the end of that chapter. Bye.